Welcome to The Disturbance, hosted by Dave DeVaugh.
Coming up on The Disturbance, it's that time of the week where I give you my top 10 National Football League power rankings. That's right, it is the mighty top 10 National Football Power Rankings for week number 5. All of that, and as always, trust me, a whole lot more coming up on the big show today. All right, thanks so much for tuning in to the Disturbance. I am Dave DeVaugh. You are viewing this most likely on our Mighty Rip YouTube channel. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe yet, please go ahead and hit that big subscribe button. If you're listening to it on any of the various 100+ podcast networks that this here program exists on, please go ahead and subscribe as well. Okay, so this is our first ever mighty top 10 National Football League power rankings, and we're doing this for week 5 of the NFL season. Now, we all know coming into this who the number 1 team is going to be. And so we're going to do this week sort of a reverse countdown. We're going to start with number 10 and work our way all the way down to the Kansas City Chiefs. There, the suspense is gone. If you were wondering who number 1 is in the National Football League and you thought it was somebody other than the Kansas City Chiefs, you, my friends, have not been living on planet Earth. All right, to the top 10 list we go. At number 10, we have the New Orleans Saints. And honestly, let's just face it, Sean Payton's football teams historically have always started out a little bit on the slow side. Now, coming up this particular week, you've got the Chargers of Los Angeles. How hard is it to continue to call them the Los Angeles Chargers? I mean, at some point, aren't they going to turn into the London Chargers? I'm just saying. Anyway, so the Chargers of Los Angeles are heading into the Bayou on Monday Night Football to do battle with the New Orleans Saints. And while I expect Justin Herbert, who earlier today was finally officially named the starting quarterback for the Los Angeles Chargers going forward, which of course makes a lot of sense. I mean, the fact that there was any mystery around this, if he had watched Justin Herbert play at all in the first 4 weeks of this National Football League season, you know that he has a big, strong arm. He does a good job with his progressions and reading plays. Yeah, he's a rookie. He's going to make mistakes, but I have to say this. In terms of like your prototypical quarterbacks, which is what Lamar Jackson and what Patrick Mahomes are not, Justin Herbert really looks like the best drop back quarterback that I've seen enter the National Football League in the last 4 or 5 years. And for you New York Jets fans that are saying, what about Sam Darnold? I say, what's Sam Darnold's QBR at this point? Enough said. So anyways, in this game, which is coming up, you've got New Orleans at home. You can expect the Saints to win that. At number 9 on my list, I've got the Pittsburgh Steelers, which of course is coached by one of my favorite coaches in the National Football League, in Mike Tomlin. You know, all 3 phases of the game are looking well. They've had a chance to rest because they had that unexpected week off because of the Tennessee Titans. By the way, 3 more players have tested positive for COVID. I don't even know what that brings it up to. I think it brings it up to 26 Tennessee Titans have tested positive for COVID so far. I mean, I'm highly doubt that Tennessee is going to have enough players that have sort of passed quarantine at this point to even play this coming weekend. That being said, the Steelers are at home this week against Carson Wentz and the 1-2-1 division leading Philadelphia Eagles. If ever there was a time for the National Football League to actually seriously begin to think about relegation, it is now for the entire National Football League Conference East. The NFC East leading team, the team in first place in the NFC East right now as we speak, is the Philadelphia Eagles with 1 win, 2 losses, and a tie against a horrific Bengals team. Anyways, I expect the Steelers to win this game. Coming in at number 8 is, of course, the brilliance of Bill Belichick. We know that Cam Newton's out. This particular weekend, they're home. They have the Denver Broncos, which is always sort of an interesting game, regardless of who the quarterback is for the Broncos and regardless of who the head coach is for that particular team. Look, I don't know who's going to actually be the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots this weekend, other than to say that I don't think it will be Cam because he wouldn't have passed through all of the COVID protocols at this point. So regardless of whoever the quarterback is for the New England Patriots, they're going to run the ball a lot, and that defense is going to win the game for them against the Broncos. Number 7, I've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yes, Tom Brady is finally sort of figuring things out. There was a report earlier in the day that he's going to buy a new mansion for $7.5 million in Tampa Bay. Look, a $7.5 million mansion in Tampa Bay, in the Bay Area where I live, would probably cost you somewhere around $35 million. I just want to keep that in perspective for all of you out there that are watching today's podcast. So look, Tampa's going to be home on Thursday night. Yeah, I'm not sure that this podcast is even going to hit the airwaves before that game actually concludes. That being said, there's no way in hell I would pick Nick Foles over Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, especially at this stage of Nick Foles' severely deteriorating career. Just watch Thursday Night Football and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Number 6, the Los Angeles Rams. Look, at times the Rams have not looked great this year, but like most good teams in the National Football League, they usually find a way to win. Look, the Kansas City Chiefs haven't been great in every quarter that they played in so far this year. The Kansas City Chiefs haven't been great in every game that they've played in, but they've found ways to win. With the Los Angeles Rams heading to Washington, D.C. for a game in Maryland, you can expect the Rams to be back on their plane flying home a 4-1 football team. The Baltimore Ravens are number 5, and for all of you Lamar Jackson supporters out there, I'm with you. I love Lamar Jackson as much as you do, but I can tell you right now that their wide receiving core is not as strong as you thought it was. Their running game is certainly not that efficient at this point unless your last name is Jackson. Look, everybody else on the team has basically performed at what I would consider to be a mediocre level in the National Football League. I don't know if it's run blocking. I don't know if it's the fact that the rest of the National Football League is moving more players up on the line, thus making it more difficult for anybody running the ball, which is what I think is really happening to the Baltimore Ravens at this point. And that is why they're number 5 on my Mighty 10 power rankings this week, because the Baltimore Ravens have not figured it out yet. Now, they're going to be playing against Joe Burrow. And while I don't think the Baltimore Ravens are going to lose this game, I certainly wouldn't bet against the 13.5 spread that currently exists in this game. I'd stay as far away from that spread as possible because Joe Burrow at this point does deserve, as much as I hate to say this, some respect from all of you out there. Number 4, the Buffalo Bills. And look, the Bills are scheduled to play the Titans this weekend. Don't know that that's actually going to happen. I will say this, even if it did happen, am I supposed to figure out who's a better quarterback, Josh Allen or Ryan Tannehill at this stage of their careers? At this stage of the season, Ryan Tannehill will not beat Josh Allen. Maybe later in the year, but not at this stage of the season. Number 3, the Seattle Seahawks. I absolutely love what Russell Wilson's doing. There are two players, probably three, that could be mentioned in the Most Valuable Player of the Year award at this point. The probable third one would be Patrick Mahomes, because you just know he's going to have a great year no matter what happens along the way. And then you've got Aaron Rodgers of the Green Bay Packers, and you've got Russell Wilson. Now, I have Seattle at number 3 this week, and at number 2, I'm going to have the Green Bay Packers. And I just think that Aaron Rodgers, Matt LaFleur, and Mike Pettin, and specifically Mike Pettin, have more to offer on the defensive side of the ball than the Seattle Seahawks do at this point. Look, Pete Carroll is an absolutely great coach. Let me put it in this perspective for you. Dan Quinn of the Atlanta Falcons and Pete Carroll of the Seattle Seahawks basically have this similar defenses at this point in terms of points given up, in terms of yards given up, in terms of where they rank overall in the National Football League. Just absolutely terrible defenses at this point for both the 4-0 Seattle Seahawks as well as the 0-4 Atlanta Falcons. And so you have to ask yourself, well, what is the difference? And the difference is, and look, I know Matt Ryan's not Russell Wilson, but Matt Ryan's not a schlub. Matt Ryan's a pretty good quarterback. The basic difference here is Pete Carroll is the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, and he's not the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. I do not understand how Arthur Blank can continue to act like a sloth when it comes to his decision-making around Dan Quinn. It was so clear last year at the end of the season when me and my wife, like the last weekend of the season, walked into our local Home Depot and we ordered a new front door for our house. It has now been 6 or 7 months, and Dan Quinn is still the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, and I still don't have a new front door. That is just how slow and methodical one of the co-founders of Home Depot, Arthur Blank, actually is as it relates to Dan Quinn. On the Seattle Seahawks side of the fence, they're on Sunday Night Football. They have my Minnesota Vikings coming to town. It is hard for me to believe that a Kirk Cousins Vikings team at this stage with the defense that they have are actually going to outscore Russell Wilson. So I would expect Seattle to win this game. At number 2, the Packers have the week off. Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers are clearly on the same page. The reports came out last week. Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur, they had Zoom calls together. They had lots of Zoom calls together during the offseason, and that's why this team is performing so well. Clearly, Matt LaFleur is making better adjustments throughout the course of the game, and Mike Pettin is doing well enough with whatever he has on the defensive side of the ball. The thing I like about Mike Pettin, and the Packers are not grading great as an overall defense, but the thing I like about Mike Pettin is he makes adjustments and he takes shots. He's not one of these defensive coordinators that sort of has a game plan and sticks to it for the entire game. You have to make adjustments in the National Football League if you're going to win. And that's why Mike Pettin, the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers, and Matt LaFleur are number 2 on the Mighty 10 this particular week. And in at number 1, which shouldn't surprise anybody, sorry, Raven fan, you've lost the right to even be in the top 3 at this point. You've got to give it to Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs. Without getting into too much of we love the Kansas City Chiefs for these top 10 reasons, I'm going to stay away from that because you've all heard it. You all know how many different weapons this team. The thing I want to point out about this team is that when they're putting on what is a C+ performance for this particular team, it's basically an A- performance for most teams, which means the Kansas City Chiefs not effectively running the ball, having issues with mid-range passes, not giving Patrick Mahomes enough time to throw the deep ball, not being able to roll them out in the way they want to, having to go to too many trick plays in order to win a game. Look, it doesn't matter if the Kansas City Chiefs are firing on all of those cylinders at the same time. They don't have to. They only need a couple of those things to work to deliver a C+ performance, and quite frankly, that's good enough for them to win 9 out of 10 games in this National Football League. There you have it, North America. That is the Mighty 10 top 10 National Football League power rankings for week number 5. Now, look, if you haven't had a chance, do check out our big website at mighty.rip when you have a chance. It is full of witty sports commentary. I'm Dave Dubois for the Disturbance Podcast. Have yourself a absolutely tremendous day.
The Disturbance is a production of